everybody, it's Miss Hattier. Welcome to week 3 of what we're calling our staycation here at the Hattier household. We're hanging out in our kitchen today, and we have a member of the family that you've never met, who you might have just seen. She's running around under my feet right now. We wanted to introduce you, so if my daughter can actually catch her, wait, you can hear her. Maybe not. Can you guess what it was? Did you see it run past? Oh, there it was again. Okay, just a second. Let me see if she can bring her over. Oh, she's coming. Maybe not. Oh, here she goes. Okay, we got her. This is Chippy, and she is a chicken. That's right. So we wanted to introduce you to Chippy, one, because it's funny to have a chicken in the house, and she's super cute. And also because she inspired today's experiment. Myrtle's freaking out over here. She's made a huge mess in the sunroom. She's got to go outside. She's got to go outside. Chickens should not be in the house. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Okay, we're back. You shouldn't put chickens in your house. But I wanted to introduce you to Chippy because, like I said, she inspired today's experiment. Chippy is a pretty old chicken, and as chickens get older, they stop laying eggs, or they lay them really infrequently, not very often. And so she hadn't laid an egg in forever. And then when we went out to check on her today, we opened the coop, and you know what we found? An egg. So in the first time in forever, she had laid an egg. So actually we have two chickens. We have Chippy, who lays these beautiful blue, I don't know if you can really see the color on your screen, but it's the prettiest shade of blue ever. So Chippy lays these, the chicken you met, and we have another chicken, Pingy, who lays this egg, which is also beautiful. It's a brown egg. If you could see it up close, it kind of has speckles on it. So you always know which chicken laid the egg. This is Pingy, and then this is Chippy. And then today, the first time in forever, they decided to lay an egg. So we decided that since it was kind of a gloomy day, and since they had laid an egg, that we would do a science experiment with it. Last week, a lot of you did the experiment with me where we looked at what dissolved in water. I can't tell you how happy that makes me. A lot of you sent me replies on what you had tried and that you had done it a bunch of times. That is great. I love hearing from you. I also love that you're just doing it at home with your families. Either one is great. It's fun to know that we're all together still, even though we're in our separate houses. So today we're going to do another experiment in honor of Chippy and her beautiful blue egg. And you're going to need a lot of the same things that you used last time. So since you've already found those things, maybe it will be easy to find them again. So you need, like last time, you need a spoon. And you need water again, okay? And then you also need a cup again. Now today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing sinking and floating, but with a little bit of a variation. We've done sinking and floating a bunch of times in my room. You know all about it. You know that when something is floating, it's at the very top of the water. And if it's sinking, it's at the bottom of the water. So we're going to do that again today, but we're going to add something else to this experiment. So when you pick your cup today, again, it would be really great if you had a cup that you could see through. That's not so important, we know. What is important is when you pick it, it has to have an opening that's big enough to fit things in. Otherwise, you won't be able to drop your stuff in. And it has to, if your grown-up says it's okay and you'd like to try an egg, like we're going to do, it has to be big enough for the egg to fit inside. So that's going to be your first challenge, to find a cup that has an opening big enough to drop stuff in, okay? So you have your cup, just like last time. You have your water, just like last time, in the pitcher where you can pour it. And you have your spoon, just like last time, okay? You're also going to need one other thing that I used last time. I don't know if you tested it, but we're going to need salt. So if you didn't do this as part of your dissolving experiment, you'll get to try it today, because we need salt for this experiment, okay? And then the last thing you're going to need is you're going to need a lot of things to test to see if they sink or float. So I have a bunch of things on my tray. I have the egg that I keep showing you, this beautiful blue egg. And then I have other things like I have a Lego character that my daughter let me borrow. I have a grape. I have a piece of a carrot. I have the tomato, which we tried last time for the dissolving experiment. So you should already have a guess if the tomato floats or sinks. You should already have a guess in your head. I have some gems and a coin, a bunch of things. A button, a coin, a bunch of, a marshmallow, okay? I have a bunch of things to test. All of them are small enough to fit into my cup. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to pour our water into our cup. And then you can start throwing your items in, maybe placing your items in, right? If you throw your item in, if you do an egg, it might break. And also you'll be splashing all over the place. So maybe we'll set our items in gently. And you could even make like a little chart for yourself like we do in the classroom. So I made two sides here, right? So I have two pictures of cups. On one side, I have something floating at the top. And on the other side, I have something that has sank to the bottom. That way, after I test something, I can put it on the correct side of the paper, and then I can sort things by whether they float or sink, okay? So the first one I'm not gonna do all of these actually. I just showed you some examples, but you can pick it. But the first one I'm gonna try is the tomato, which you should already have a guess in your head as to what the tomato is gonna do. Float at the top or sink to the bottom, if you remember from last time. Okay, it sinks. It still sinks. We've tried it now a bunch of times together. Tomatoes sink. All right, let me take it out with my spoon. You could also just use your fingers. And then it would go on this side of the paper, right? That's how we would sort it. All right, let's do the egg. Do you have a prediction or a guess in your head what the egg is going to do? Okay, make your guess. I'm going to put it in really gently because I don't want to break this very special once in a lifetime egg. All right, here we go. Can you see? Yeah, the egg also sinks. Now, the reason these items sink is because they are more, here's the big word, more dense than water. It's a really hard thing to kind of understand right now. What it means is how heavy something is depending on its size. So let me show you. I'll give you an example. So here I have a marshmallow and I have a rock. They're about the same size. They're about the same size, right? Not exactly, but pretty close. Which one do you think is heavier? The rock? Okay, so the rock is heavier than the marshmallow. So when we put this one in, the rock is heavy, same size, but it's heavier than the marshmallow, and it goes to the bottom. It's hard to see with the glare. And the marshmallow, same size, but much lighter, it floats at the top. So what we could say is that the rock is more dense than the marshmallow. It has more weight for the same size. So it goes to the bottom and the marshmallow stays at the top. You'll learn more about that as you get older. Oh, my water is kind of turning a funny color from the marshmallow. But when things sink, we say they're more dense than water. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try to make our water more dense. We're going to do that by adding the last thing I told you needed. Do you remember what it was? That's right, it's the salt. So here we go. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to add enough salt to it. We're going to try to dissolve some salt into our water. And when you dissolve salt into water, it changes the density of the water. So the things that used to float to the bottom sometimes sink to the bottom, now will float at the top. So we're going to start by adding maybe 2 scoops. We'll add 2 scoops. So you're going to take a really big spoon, if you have a big spoon, and you're going to pour your salt in. And I'm going to put it into my cup, and I'm going to dissolve it, make it disappear in the water. So that was 1 scoop. Okay, now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do 2 scoops. Okay, 2 scoops. So this one goes in. Now last time when we dissolved the salt in, we were able to dissolve it all the way in. The water turned crystal clear again. We have so much salt in here this time that is not gonna work, okay? So I'm just gonna make sure it's really stirred in, okay? And now we've changed the density of the water by dissolving salt in it. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna test something that we've tested a bunch of times. We definitely know this one. All right, so the tomato has always sank. Now that we've changed the density of the water, we're gonna try it again. So we're gonna take the tomato and we're gonna put it in salty water and we're gonna see what happens. Oh, the water's pretty cloudy, but can you see where the tomato is this time? Wait, it's gonna circle back around. That's right, it's at the top. So when your water becomes more dense, things that used to sink to the bottom now float at the top. So what you're going to do is you're going to do your sinking and floating experiment, okay? Find as many things as you can and see if they sink or float. And then after you test that, dissolve some salt into the water and try the things that sank to the bottom. See if this time maybe they float. And one of the things you could test is an egg. Now, I'm not going to show you the results. I want you to test it on your own. We're going to see how many scoops of salt it takes to make the egg float at the top of the water. It will float. You're going to have to figure out how many scoops of salt it takes, okay? And you could try this sinking and floating experiment with other things. You could try dissolving sugar in your water and see if that changes the density of the water. You could try dissolving baking soda in your water and see if that changes anything. Or you could try sinking and floating in different liquids. Like you could try sinking and floating things in, this is soap. You could see which things float or sink in soap because it has a different density than water. Or another liquid you could try would be oil. You could try honey. That could get really messy. Anything that you want to try, you really need to talk to your grown-ups first, okay? So you're going to do sinking and floating just in plain water. Then you're going to dissolve some salt or some sugar or some baking soda in your water and change the density and try it again. Now see which things sink and float. Or you can try other liquids that have a different density and see if they sink or float, okay? And if you have an egg at home, you can see how many scoops of salt it takes to get that egg to float to the top. Maybe 1, maybe 10, I don't know. So have fun experimenting. If you want to send me a message, that is great. Or you can just save your stories for when we meet again, okay? So be well, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye.